Hi, it's Kari Matthews of Prairie Quilting. Today we are working on my quilt Blossoming Spring. The pattern is available through my website, prairiequilting.com. And the fabric I used for this is called Among the Wildflowers by Shelley Kavana for Benertex. Today we're going to be working on this Jack of Diamonds block. Okay, for our Jack of Diamonds block, we are going to be making several different units. Okay, we're going to be making the basic Drunkard's Path units. We're going to be making square and squares and these units here. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, I wanted to just show you how I lay out my templates. I have some kind of leftover scraps here from my strips that I cut. And what I do is, so if the strip were a long strip, I line it up and line up the straight of grain here. Okay, and then I nest them. So I turn it and work my way down the strip, nesting them so I can get as many out of them as I can. Okay, this kind of strip here, I do this way. Okay, so I line it up and then I turn it and nest it going like this. Okay, make my way down the strip. And then for these Drunkard Path units, it's nest them still. So you line up the straight of grain here, and then I turn it and I work my way kind of back and forth and nesting those templates. Okay, for the Jack of Diamonds block, first we're going to basically start with some Drunkard's Path units. Okay, so we have this pretty light pink, and we're going to go ahead and pinch the center. And then on this, for this lime, it's kind of, there's a couple different lime greens for this, and this one's the darker one. We're gonna go ahead and find the center of that by folding it in half and pinching it, and then we'll match those two pinches up. I don't know if you can see that, but I'm matching up where those two meet, and then I'm gonna go ahead and put a pin in it. Okay, we'll put a pin in that, and then pin each side as well. Okay. And there are 4 of these sections for this block, for the Drunkard's Path section. So we've got one. I'll show you how to do one more, and then we just do that for all 4. And I am an assembly line piecer, so I definitely do, all the blocks at the same time if I can. For a quilt, it just goes faster. Okay, match up my 2 centers there, and then when I'm doing the corners, I try to square it up. So match up those straight lines really well, and that'll make your piecing more accurate as well. Okay. All right. And then we'll do that for the other 2. All right, so I've pinned all of my units here, my Drunkard's Path units, and we're gonna go ahead and do our curved piecing. Okay, so let's go ahead and I'm gonna put my needle down. Okay, so give ourselves a few stitches to hold that down, and now I'm gonna be using my stiletto to guide me these edges, keep them together, and just kind of ease that in. And like I said before, I really enjoy curved piecing. So this is kind of relaxing. And you're working with the fabric. This is a fun block. It's just kind of a different block. It's not very common, and I like to try different types of blocks myself. I don't like to do the same thing over and over again, so. Okay, let's press. Okay, so for these units, I a lot of times will, if the pressing doesn't matter for construction, I kind of go with how the fabric looks like it wants to go. So in this case, I don't know, it's kind of going toward that pink, so I'm just going to go with it. Okay, so there are our 4 of those units. Okay, to cut templates that have reverse pieces, so this one, it is not the same, going both directions, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and line it up straight grain, and then I turn them and get as many out of the strip as I can. Okay, our next units are kind of the points, there's like a star in the center. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna use, so when we cut those units that I just showed how to lay the templates out, if you cut them 2 layers, you get the template and the reverse at the same time, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and start off with putting this one side on, okay? So we have the engineered corners to kind of show you where to match it up. And we'll go ahead, and there's 4 of these sections for each block. Let's go ahead and sew those together. All right, we're gonna go ahead and use our 1/4 inch seam, and be careful not to stretch these because they are on the bias. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and kind of give it a top press there, and then open that up carefully so we don't stretch it. And then I'm pressing toward the white, okay? Okay, so now we will go ahead and connect the reverse of that, okay? So let's go lay those out. And I like to kind of lay things out just so I am sure I'm doing it the right way. All right, let's go ahead and sew. Okay. We're gonna kind of line the engineered corner up here in that corner. All right, we're gonna do the same thing, just open it up and go toward that white. Okay, so we have those units, we have the Drunkard's Path units, and our last unit is a square in a square for the center. Okay, so we have these pretty kind of berry colored triangles, half square triangles. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and sew one on each side. All right, and I've left my dog ears hanging out about the same width on each side. Okay, and then sew down the seam. We're gonna take our other triangle and line that up, okay, with our dog ears hanging out equally on both sides. Okay. Okay, so we'll go ahead and give it a top press and then just open those up. And I'm trying to be careful not to, pull and tug too much, okay? So now we're gonna do the same thing on the opposite corners, okay? And I'm leaving those dog ears on there to just have that for a reference, okay? Kind of helps me, gauge how far they stick out. Okay, so let's go ahead and sew down that line. And where the V kind of meets here, that's where my seam should come out, and then same as going up at the top. Take that other half square triangle, line it up, and sew it in, okay? And sew that V right here. This V, that's where my seam should start. Okay, and I'm just lining up my edges and come out the other side. All right, go ahead and do the same thing, just kind of gingerly pulling that apart there. Okay, and now I'm gonna trim off those dog ears, just take a little bulk out of this, okay? Okay, now we have all of the parts for this block. So let's go ahead and lay them out. All right, I've laid all the parts out here now. So it's basically a really fancy 9 patch. Okay, so let's go ahead and match these up. I'm gonna put the pieces that have the most seams on the top. So I'm gonna line those two up. We're gonna sew on that. So, okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and line those points up, okay? And put a pin in that. And we're also gonna go ahead and line this one up and sew down that seam. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and sew with my 1/4 inch seam. All right, and I'm gonna do a scant 1/4 inch, try to aim a little bit further out on that so that it doesn't blunt the point. And okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and line up these points. Okay, kind of pulling it back so I can kind of, this point should be lined up in with that other one, okay? And then I'm gonna just put a pin in it so that it doesn't shift too much here. Okay, and for this other ones, we'll go ahead and sew the other square on. I do like to lay it out to make sure it's in the right direction here. Okay, we've got these pink ones on the outside here. Okay, and we'll line those up. And let's go ahead and sew. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and sew these two to the drunkard's path units first. Okay, and then the one we went ahead and pinned, we're gonna go ahead, kind of just go a little scant on that. Try to hit just on the outside of that. Okay, for the center piece here, I'm gonna go toward the center on this and give it a good solid press. Okay, and kind of work in those corners so my points kind of come out there. Okay, and then we'll go away from the center on these ones. Okay, and away from the center for this as well. Okay, so now let's just go ahead and sew these two sections together, okay? And we have nested those seams, so we're gonna go ahead, put a pin in it. Okay, and I'm kind of peeking to see are my points lined up? They're pretty lined up, okay? And honestly, when this is all put together, there's so much going on. If things are off by like a 1/16 and 1/8 of an inch, it's just not that big of a deal. Okay, let's go ahead and sew. Okay, let's go ahead and sew this seam. I've got my needle down, those pins out, and I'm sewing, aiming for just on the outside of that point again. Okay, and now we're going to connect up this other piece. So I'm nesting those seams again, and these ones as well. I'm going to pull this back and kind of see how those points, I'm lining those up, okay? And put a pin in it. Okay, here we go. Let's go ahead and put our needle down. Okay. Get my pins out. And letting that fabric just ease in here. All right, and okay, we're gonna go ahead and press away from the center section here. All right, and there is our Jack of Diamonds block. All right, we finished our block. I hope you had fun and I hope to see you soon for another project. Take care.